Thank you, Amy. And welcome everyone to the last session. Must be the most exciting one to bring everyone back for the closing remarks. So I'll get through this so the meeting can be closed. Thank you very much today for your time. What I'd like to do is run through a quick presentation covering off on basically three areas for the Mastermyne business. One is around a summary and background of the group, who we are, what we do, a bit of a performance update from the 2020 year and our order book and how we're tracking to date, and then around our growth strategy, which is pretty exciting for us, and some recent updates that we've just put to market recently to talk about those. So as I step through, in terms of the company overall, we're a specialist underground contracting group, contract operator, specialising in underground coal environment. Obviously we're ASX listed, have been since 2010, and have over 24 years experience in the resources sector. We typically service the tier 1 customer base and have extended...
Brett, you don't have any slides up, just so you know.
Oh, sorry. I'll get that up and going. Sorry all.
That looks good.
That's good now. Sorry about that. Okay, so as I mentioned, our tier 1 customer base with long-term relationships. In terms of our exposure to coal markets, obviously two types of coal in the marketplace. Typically people don't understand the difference, but we're typically exposed to the metallurgical coal market. 95% of our revenue in our order book is derived from metallurgical coal projects. And also we have a market leading position in the underground coal. Our competitor landscape is quite slim. We come up against the usual suspects for our projects, but again, our size and scale with over 900 people and a suite of equipment to go with that is quite substantial. We're experienced across the project lifecycle, all the way from construction through our production profile and also to rehabilitation. So I've been involved in major projects around drift construction, then from the mining and coal production phase through to closure of underground mines as well. As mentioned, we have a large equipment fleet, including major pieces of equipment, including continuous miners, shuttle cars, underground loaders and drift runners. And we also cross-hire equipment as well as required. And we have an established workforce, 900 plus employees, and substantial investment and use of our people management systems as well, and people development to ensure we have long-term workforces that remain with us, and we continue to have them employed across various projects as we move from project to project. In terms of the company, we'll mention a bit more detail as we move in. A strong balance sheet with the 21.4 million in terms of net cash at the end of June this year. Conservative leverage, we don't have any debt other than some hire purchase agreements, but no other debt on the balance sheet. Strong operating cash flows, and we'll talk about that a bit further. In terms of our overall order book in excess of $657 million over the next three and a bit years, and a tendering pipeline of about $1.9 billion. We'll talk about the results in a bit more detail, but strong results for 2020, as our revenue was $293 million, up by 23%. EBITDA was also up to 29 million, up 36%. We've commenced our dividend payment, which commenced just over 18 months ago. In the last 12 months, we've actually paid over 10 cents of dividend. In the last financial year, we've declared 6 cents fully franked dividend and continue our commitment to shareholder returns. Just in terms of corporate overview, in terms of the major shareholders, Andrew Watts is a founding director of the business and continues to own a significant, substantial holding in the business, just over 11%. As well, Darren Hamblin is also a founding member, no longer director, but still a substantial holder. Highlighting here, we have quite an experienced board with some significant underground experience in general manager and executive roles on mine sites, in addition to experience from construction projects and industrial relations and corporate experience. So well covered in terms of experience from a board perspective. In terms of some further detail in terms of what we do, contracting services, as we mentioned, underground roadway development, so from drift drivage, mains and gate road development, drill and blast projects, as well as access and ventilation device installation. Conveyor installations, recoveries and maintenance. We also undertake longwall installations, recoveries and maintenance. I mentioned the ventilation. Primary and secondary strata support. And we have the suitable equipment to provide to do that work as well. And further out by maintenance work. So basically any of the out by underground coal mining services, we're able to provide that full service. As well as project management and engineering support as required. So as I mentioned, as a specialist contracting group, we're not just labour hire, we're not just bums on seats, we actually provide the project management support to come in and run a project on behalf of the client and provide the equipment and people and project management team to do that. In terms of the adjacent services that we offer, we also offer specialised ground consolidation services, so a chemical injection service. This was in relation to our Wilson's Mining acquisition, which we undertook in September last year. And that brought in a service and a capability that allowed us to support roof collapses as they occur on longwall mines, and also into the metals and hard rock area as well. So that's been a significant acquisition for the group, and it's proven quite successful and significant opportunities for Wilson's to move into more of the coal mining market, in addition to hard rock exposure as well. We have a team that undertakes feasibility and technical studies as well. So this allows us to enter into projects at early stages to assist the client with the technical work, feasibility, bankable feasibility studies to allow the project to progress. And this allows us to build our pipeline of projects, gain exposure to the metrics, economics of the project, to assist them to come up with suitable solutions to mine the resource. We also have a mining products and consumables business within our group, and that's basically selling parts and consumable items to the underground environment, as well as open cuts. But that could be from hanging racks to chains, to salt for underground roads, to grout and concrete materials. So that's based at our, we have a warehouse in Rockhampton and service the Bowen Basin and New South Wales coal basins as well. In addition to plant equipment hire, so of our own fleet, we hire out our equipment for projects as well. The last area there, what we do is the contract mining. So we do offer full contract mining project management to a ROM stockpile delivery. So that's basically managing all of the underground environment, including appointment as operator, providing all of the conveyor services, equipment, people, management, all the way through to delivering the coal onto the ROM stockpile. Looking at long-term production mining and also the project setup and establishment. Given our balance sheet position and our equipment ownership, we have the capacity to fund project equipment for these types of projects and infrastructure. So again, be able to assist the client with their solutions to be able to get the project off the ground. We have various approaches, early stage partnering to competitive tender. So again, we like to be involved from the early stage. We get involved in the feasibility. We work with the client all the way through. That's our preference, is for a single source, but obviously are involved in competitive tenders when they arise. We also have a range of commercial models to match the project economics, so ranging from portions of fixed price or fixed price per unit, per tonne or per metre delivery, through to a schedule of rates pricing as well. And that will depend on the type of project and the risk profile of the project, but highly flexible in terms of our commercial models. As always, significant focus for the group on safety. Everyone goes home unharmed. We have mature systems in place. Being in the coal mining industry, the legislative requirements and compliance is extremely high. So we have very mature systems in place for our health and management systems. Demonstrated track record of embedded safety elements of compliance, behaviour and cognitive. And one of the examples that I'll give there from a behavioural perspective is we're using what we call brain science to assist people with the safety behaviours, and it started out as safety behaviours, and we've seen significant benefits. We've now moved that into the rest of the business to how we can influence the business in terms of behavioural content, of how we can get efficiency benefits and gains, which is proving quite successful. As you can see there, we've got a number of projects there that are significant recordable injury-free days, which in terms of the type of work and that's being performed and the manual handling, etc., that's happening, we're quite happy with those numbers to have those recordable injury-free days. Just in terms of now moving into the second area around performance update, just in terms of 2020 year, as I mentioned, revenue, EBITDA and NPAT all up. From revenue 238 to 293, and EBITDA 21 to 29 million, and profit up from 8.5 to 11.7. So a very successful year for Mastermyne in terms of financial performance. I mentioned the 4 dividend, which we will continue to support into the future. The Wilson's mining business, as mentioned, it's integrated now into the business and now poised to deliver into the coal mining market, in addition to hard rock opportunities as well, which are presenting themselves and quite a significant market for Wilson's to move into. Just recently, in the last couple of days, we've actually made a couple of announcements to market. One is around, and this is our key milestone from our growth strategy on our whole of mine projects. So we've been appointed as the operator at the Gregory Crinum mine, which is owned by Sojitz. It was purchased by Sojitz from BMA in 2019. They're currently mining in the open cut area and looking to reopen the previously sealed underground mine at Gregory Crinum. We've been assisting them with feasibility and study work to be able to get that mine open. And we successfully re-entered that mine in late October, and have now subsequently been appointed as the operator and are looking after that mine now. Sojitz are going through their final approval processes in Japan, and hopefully we'll hear by the end of the calendar year that project progresses. The other project that we've actually just announced today is around, we've executed a binding term sheet with Dysart Coal Management for a project Dysart East, obviously near Dysart, and it's owned, the tenement owner is Bengal Coal, and we've been appointed there as assisting them with the feasibility study to progress that through their approval and funding stages, at which point we'll then negotiate a mining services agreement for us to be appointed as the mining contractor and the major underground mining contractor, and also appointed as the operator. So we've just announced that today. So I mentioned there the record order book. The blue chip client base, so tier one clients. So as I mentioned, we've got long-term relationships with tier one clients. So Anglo American, BMA, Integra, and Whitehaven have been the major clients that we're currently dealing with. And again, a lot of those have been long-term relationships, well over sort of 5-6 years, plus Anglo's even more than that, than shown on the graph. And the current Anglo contract is still got 2 years to run and 2 years of options on top of that as well. In terms of order book, in terms of 2021, we have about 208 million as at the start of July, which secured that in terms of contracted work. In addition to that, there's about 30 to 40 million of what we call purchase order or recurring work, and that's usually in our training business, in our consumables business, and our Wilson's chemical business, as that's very much a chemical business is a reactive business. So in terms of 2022, there's 173 million locked away, and then past 22, we've got 275 million dollars of work under contract. Obviously, the COVID restrictions has impacted on coal prices that we've seen recently. Metallurgical coal prices are expected to recover. Thermal coal prices seem to be depressed for longer, and the recovery to take longer for that to happen. We are well positioned to go through these current softening coal prices. It was only probably a month and a half ago that coal prices were up at pushing 140 bucks a tonne US. So it's quite volatile at the moment. We are expecting some of the major projects that were delayed in 2020 to come through in 2021 in the second half, and we're working with those clients on their projects and tender arrangements at the moment. Mentioned the Gregory Crinum Hollow Mine project, and we do have a suite of near-term opportunities, as I said, including Dysart, and there are other projects in the Hollow Mine tendering pipeline that are progressing through. Thank you. In terms of market fundamentals, so as I mentioned, we're very much exposed to the metallurgical coal, which in terms of pricing has a much better story around it in terms of future. A couple of metrics there around price recovery, looking to go back, increase in 2021 up to $124 a tonne. And we're also seeing coal exports from Australia by 2021 increase back to 2019 levels and increase past that in 2022. Steel production has obviously been impacted globally by COVID, and we're expecting a recovery in addition to China's potential post-COVID response to their economy. I would expect there's some government stimulus still to happen in that marketplace. In terms of the final slide here is then around our strategy for growth. So we have 3 pillars there. One is to continue to maximise our returns from our core business, deliver operational performance to support our margin growth, continue to develop and invest in our people. So we mentioned our development programs in place, and continue to unlock our operating leverage. So as we continue to deliver on projects and win projects, we maintain our operating costs and our corporate costs at a suitable level so we can increase our margins overall. We want to expand our underground service offerings, so we want to continue to leverage the Wilson Mining acquisition.
Please jump to your last slide.
Yes, thank you. Wilson Mining acquisition into coal mining and also into hard rock. We are looking to move into the hard rock sector, into the underground environment. It makes sense in terms of our skills, abilities, our safety profile, to be able to leverage into the hard rock market, and we're now continuing to put in, start with some tenders in that marketplace to build organically, as well as looking at acquisitions. We'll continue to look at bolt-on additional products and service offerings, similar to the Wilson's acquisitions, again, must add value to our underground service offering. The last one I mentioned, and we've talked about it pretty extensively, is around our whole of mine business. So continue to assess our whole of mine opportunities. Look to source strategic mining fleet to provide competitive advantage to ensure we have equipment available as these projects arise. And from the whole of mine perspective, it's also continue to have that early stage involvement in greenfield and brownfield projects, so we can work with the clients to deliver solutions and suitable outcomes. So thank you very much for your time today, and any questions I assume will be sent through separately. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you so much.